Right. Okay. The record should reflect that all three defendants are present with all of their attorneys. All of the special prosecutors are present. We left off in the state's case. State, call your next witness.
Right, at this time, we propose to read portions of Thomas Gaffney's federal grand jury case that we intend to admit or to offer for your admission.
Okay, is it just regarding
This
defendant
is-
Gaffney
We
or?
are offering it, Your Honor, solely against defendant Gaffney. We are not offering this as a co-conspirator state.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure the record was clear.
Thank you.
Judge,
Yes.
just so that we're clear, I am stipulating to the foundation of the entire federal grand jury transcript,
I'm sorry, you're stipulating to
the entire exhibit. So if the council wants to publish the exhibit, I would ask that the exhibit be published in its entirety.
Mr. Safer.
We are offering these statements, as I said, not as a co-conspirator statement, but only as a party opponent.
No, I understand that, and that's not what Mr. Fahey's saying. What he's saying is, if you're going to publish it, publish the whole transcript.
When we're only offering the party statements of party
Got it.
opponents that we see, that we would like to have admitted.
Wait a minute. I may, Judge.
Certainly.
I was offered this exhibit in its entirety. I was asked, would you stipulate to the foundation in the admission of this exhibit? It's the entire federal grand jury exhibit, all 47 pages of it. I said, yes, I certainly will. Then I get a note during testimony today that we are only going to offer into evidence certain portions. Read some of this, it looks like certain pages. The problem is, Judge, the agreement was the entire exhibit was coming into evidence, and now I'm being told that no, I only want to bring portions of it. Obviously, if the witness, the foundational witness, was on the stand, I could certainly bring out the entire statement on cross-examination. So if counsel wants to publish portions of it, that's fine, but it can't be the entire exhibit that is stipulated to be brought into evidence at this time.
Mr. Safer.
First of all, Your Honor, the stipulation was on foundation. The stipulation that has been provided to the court at paragraph 10 simply states a custodian of records and qualified witness of the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois, if called to testify, would provide the authentications and foundation testimony to admit People's Exhibit Gaffney Grand Jury 1, certified transcript of the testimony of Thomas Gaffney in grand jury investigation, grand jury number 14 GJ 970, July 1, 2015, 1:30 p.m. Indeed, the last paragraph of the stipulation makes very clear that this was not offered an admission into evidence. Indeed, it says defendant Thomas Gaffney reserves the right to object to the admissibility of the evidence on grounds other than authentication and foundation for any of these things covered by the stipulation. So we were stipulating to foundation. That's what stipulated to. It was not the admissibility and not the admission. I disagree with what Mr. Fahey said, that he could have, if a witness were on the stand, that he could have them read the rest of the transcript. As I said to Mr. Fahey earlier, we're only offering certain portions as party admissions. The rest of it is hearsay. If there are portions that he believes, and we've tried not to do this, that he believes cuts off, under the rule of completeness should be admitted, I told Mr. Fahey I would take a look at that. And certainly he doesn't have to do that, but he can offer those to the court, for the court's rule. But it's not a party, if it's not offered by us, it is hearsay.
Judge, what Mr. Schaefer neglected to tell you that he offered, when I agreed to the stipulation, was the exhibit that's marked as People's Exhibit Gaffney Grand Jury Report, all 47 pages of it. Now,
But is that in writing, or was it just,
it's in the exhibit book. It's in yours.
I have it.
And the entire 47 pages of it. And so, yes, I agreed that I would stipulate you do not need to call a custodian, a court reporter, Bill Delaney, who was actually here earlier today. We released him from the subpoena. Had I known this, I could certainly call Mr. Delaney, and under the doctrine of completeness, I could certainly get out the entire statement.
Well, I don't know that you could get the entire statement out for the doctrine of completeness. It depends. I think it's a question by question or question answer situation. It's hard for me to say, but I don't think you'd be able to get the whole statement out for doctrine of completeness. If it's not a statement by a party opponent, it would fall under hearsay. So it's either you have an agreement or you don't. I can't make the parties have an agreement. So are you saying, Mr. Fahey, that you are not in agreement now?
Judge, my stipulation was based upon this exhibit, the entirety of the exhibit.
This stipulation, Your Honor, says nothing about admission or admissibility. It is simply about authentication and foundation. Whether or not a witness testifies about the transcript is irrelevant. We certainly are not going to object. If Your Honor felt that there was a particular portion, for example, that completed what we offer, that Mr. Fahey would like to offer, and Your Honor rules that that's properly admitted, we're certainly not going to say you have to call the witness. You can just read it. The foundation really is irrelevant to the issue that he's talking.
You still have the same question. Is there a stipulation or there isn't a stipulation, Mr.
Yes, there is a sign.
I know, according to you, there's a stipulation, but Mr. Fahey's saying, based upon his understanding of it, it's different than what he thought it would be. Is that correct, Mr. Fahey?
Yes, why did you do this right before you rested? I mean, why
He
didn't you
didn't
just-
rest. They didn't
I know,
rest.
I'm saying right before you rested. I mean, why didn't you just tell me about this?
Well, Mr. Fahey, first of all, always direct your comments to the
Sorry.
court. I understand, but let's direct the comments to the court and not to counsel personally. If you need a minute to resolve this, I'll give you a minute to resolve it. If you have a different witness that you can call at this time, Mr. Safer, and one of your colleagues can work on this issue, we could do that. If you need a moment to get back in contact with Mr. Delaney, I'll give you time to do that. But you wouldn't, I don't know that you'd be getting to Mr. Delaney today.
No, I don't think we would, Judge, because he was actually released.
But he could always be
I understand.
recalled. So almost, I don't want to say no harm, no foul, but it's not as if you don't know where he's at and he's not going to come in.
I don't understand.
It's an inconvenience, I understand. Okay,
I
can't go
I'm slow.
forward.
I'm slow, but I don't understand why having a live witness makes any difference about completeness.
I think that both of you should take a moment and discuss it.
Okay.
And you
that's what-
might be able to come to some agreement.
okay,
And if not, we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Okay, is it, so let me ask you this, Mr. Safer, Ms. Brown Holmes, is there anything else that we can go forward with, or do I need to go into recess?
Judge, if you can recess for like 2 or 3 minutes, so we're not sure if our next witness is available because we didn't anticipate being this, so we would have to check. And
Okay.
If we can't resolve this, then we'll call the next witness. If we can't resolve it, we'll continue.
All right, sounds great. Court's in recess. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll come back out. And we'll- Okay. Yes, Mr. Pugh.
Yes. I anticipate that the state's final witness is going to be a custodian of records.
We're not in recess, Elliot. I said it, but then Mr. Pugh had an issue. So let's just get all of these issues out there.
Is going to be a custodian of records, and the state is going to be seeking to admit a variety of emails that you have in the exhibit book. They are emails from individuals other than Joe Walsh. And I would like to have an opportunity to argue to the court regarding the co-conspirator statements that have come in thus far. And of course, make a record and make some representations regarding what these alleged co-conspirator statements are going to be admitted at the conclusion, at the tail end of the state's case. I would like to do that at some point prior to that happening. It can be after, but I just want to let you know for scheduling purposes, I'd like to have 5 or 10 minutes to argue that issue.
Of course. Mr. McKay, you're standing, so do
I'm
you-
just standing.
Okay.
I'm not standing. I thought you were taking a recess too.
I thought I was too, but now we are. So court's in recess. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll come back out.
Thank you.
present. And Mr. Safer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have, with the court's invitation, discussed this with Mr. Fahey. We representing the people do not want anybody to, we tried our best to have excerpts that are complete, but we don't want anybody going to trial in this case feeling like we're parsing any of the evidence. So we will agree to the admission of the entirety of the transcript. We will publish the excerpts to you that will focus the court on what we think is pertinent. But we would offer into evidence Thomas Gaffney grand jury.
So just so I'm clear, I'm going to be given the entire transcript. However, Mr. Safer, you're going to publish the portions that you deem are statements by a party opponent. Are those the only portions that I'm being asked to consider in the transcript, unless Mr. Fahey has any portions that the court should consider under the doctrine of completeness?
Judge, under the doctrine of completeness.
And I'm sorry.
The agreement is that you consider all of it, but I believe Mr. Safer is going to publish the portions that he wishes to publish. So
But-
the whole transcript is coming into evidence.
To be considered by the court,
Yes,
and that's an agreement between the parties.
yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so are both parties stipulating to that then, Mr. Safer,
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Fahey?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Your Honor, would the court care for a copy? Oh, you have.
I was already given one.
Thank you. And with the court's permission, there are 3 sections that the people would like to publish. There are no line numbers, so the line numbers that I'm citing are just numbers that we counted.
Okay,
So the first excerpt will start at the beginning on page 2 and end on page 7, line 4. With the court's permission, I proceed.
you may proceed.
Thank you. Question, officer, could you please state your full name and spell your last name for the court reporter? My name is Thomas Gaffney. And what's your star number, officer? 19958. Question, and officer, before I ask you some questions about what we're here for, I just want to advise you of your rights and obligations before the grand jury. Answer, yes. You are aware that you are free to retain counsel and discuss with counsel why you are here. Is that correct? Answer, yes. Question, and you've done that. Answer, yes. Question, what's your attorney's name? Answer, Will Fahey. Question, and he's here today? Answer, yes. Question, your obligation before the grand jury is to tell the truth and give truthful answers to any questions that we ask you here. Answer, yes. Question, you could refuse to answer any questions if you believe that answering that question may incriminate you. Are you aware of that? Answer, yes. Question, okay. And if you do, the court reporter is taking down your answers and the questions that we asked you. And those statements can be used against you for charges of perjury or obstruction of justice if that comes to it. Are you aware of that? Answer, yes. Question, officer, you're a Chicago police officer, is that correct? Answer, yes. Question, and you've been so for how long? Answer, well, in a week, I'll have 19 years. Question, congratulations. You are currently assigned where? Answer, to the 8th District. Question, and for how long have you been assigned to the 8th District? Answer, since the summer of 2001. Question, and the 8th District is where? Answer, the actual statement is 63rd station is 63rd and Holman, but it's a vast area. You know, from the Stevenson Expressway to 87th Street, from Harlem all the way to Western. Question, okay. And your assignment since 2001 in the 8th District has been patrol officer. Answer, yes. Question, prior to 2001, where were you assigned? Answer, I was in the 9th district. Question, again as a patrol officer? Answer, yes, patrol. Question, officer, I would like to direct your attention to October 20th of 2014. Could you do that and tell us what shift you were working on that day? Answer, I was working the first shift. I'm in full uniform in a marked squad car. Answer, and what is the first shift? And question, what is the first shift? Answer, it's midnight. I start at 9 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. Question, at that time, on that date, were you working with a partner? Answer, yes, I was. Question, who was your partner? Answer, Joseph McElligott. Question, and you had worked with Officer McElligott before as partner? Answer, yes. Question, how often or for how long? Answer, maybe a year or so. He was in our car. Question, on the first watch in the 8th district, what beat were you? Answer, 8:15 Robert. Question, and what does that mean? Answer, it's, well, our shift and afternoon shift overlap, so they put an R on our car, our Robert car. It just made us a Robert car. So it's 8:15, that's our beat, and then Robert just means we're on midnights. Question, and what area was 8:15 beat? Answer, our beat is Pulaski to Cicero, from the Stevenson Expressway to 55th Street. Question, do you recall about what time you arrived for work on the night of the 20th? Answer, I usually get there around 8:45. Question, and is there a roll call? Answer, yes. At 9 o'clock, it starts. Question, and after roll call, what did you do? Answer, we got to our car, got our stuff, put our stuff in the car, and then we proceeded to our beat. Question, and what did you have in your car? Answer, just like our bags with our paperwork and gear and stuff like that. Question, your gear, did that include that night a taser? Answer, no, it did not. Question, do you recall if your partner, Officer McElligott, had a taser? Answer, no, he did not. We would move then, Your Honor, to page 9, line 2. After roll call and putting your gear in your vehicle, what did you and your partner do? Answer, we just headed to our beat, just drove. I don't even remember how we got there, but just drove normally to our beat. Question, and who was driving that night? Answer, I was. Question, do you normally drive or do you? Answer, no, we switch off every night usually. Question, what kind of vehicle was it? Answer, it's a Chevy Tahoe. Question, and you said it was marked? Answer, marked squad car, yes. Question, anything? Well, did you receive a radio call from dispatch to respond somewhere shortly after you hit the street? Answer, yes. We got a call to go to 4100 South Kildare, and there was, I believe it was like a holding office offender type of call. Question, what does that mean? Answer, that some people have somebody in custody. Well, they're holding somebody for us to go, that they did something wrong. Question, and that would be a civilian holding someone? Answer, yeah. Question, did you know anything more at that point? Answer, no, not really. Question, just that? Answer, yeah. Just that they're holding him, that he was possibly breaking into cars or trucks or something in that area. Question, and you went there? Answer, yes. Question, how long after the call did you arrive? Do you remember? Answer, oh, it was pretty quick, maybe a minute or so. Question, and when you arrived there, could you tell us what you found? Answer, we pulled up to an entrance to a yard, a fenced-in yard. There was a male Hispanic and a female Hispanic standing there, and we spoke to them. Question, and what did they tell you? Answer, well, they'd said that a black male with a dark shirt had, he had just went down that way. They pointed north, and the male had a wire, like a white wire in his hand, and he said he was talking about something about an iPhone or a phone. I don't know if he had taken one or left one or what happened. but he just pointed north and said he went around the corner. So at that time, we drove down to, go around the corner to see if we could find him. Question. So you drove down what street? Answer. Kildare to 40th Street. Question. So you drove, what would that be, north down Kildare? Answer. Yes. Question. And when you drove down Kildare, did you see anything? Answer. Well, we turned down 40th Street, and then we turned, once we turned, we seen a male black with dreadlocks and a dark shirt walking east on 40th Street. Question. So you drove north on Kildare to 40th and took a right? Answer, yes. Question, which means east? Answer, and we turned east, yes. Question, and you said you saw a black male. Where was he when you first saw him? Answer, maybe 30 or 40 feet from the corner. He was walking away from us. Question, was he on the street or the sidewalk area? Answer, on the sidewalk area. Question, on the south side of 40th Street? Answer, yes. Question, what happened then? Answer, well, we approached him, pulled up close to him, and my partner got out. It started, come here, hey, trying to get his attention, but he kept walking. So I stayed in the car in case he was going to run. At that time, we didn't know what he was doing. We just figured there was nobody else in the area. We figured this was the guy that the two Hispanic people had mentioned to us. Question, before your partner got out, did you see anything in the person's hands? Answer, no, not at that time, no. Question, had he said anything that you could hear up until that point? Answer, no, no. Question, could you describe the area where you were in when you first saw him and when your partner got out of the car? Answer, it's pretty much all industrial area. He was along, it was that same truck yard, it's just a fence along that area. And then the opposite side is another area truck yard with a fence and more trucks inside it. But it's all industrial buildings on both sides. Question. So your partner gets out of the car and he does what? Answer. He gets out of the car, he gives him some verbal commands, like stop, let me see your hands. Because he had one of his hands in his pocket at that time. So he was just trying to get his attention, get him to stop, to see what was going on with him. Question. And what were you doing? Answer. I was still in the car because I didn't know what was going on with this guy either. So I stayed in the car in case he was going to run on us. Question. You're moving though, correct? Answer. Yes. We also continuously move. Question. So where were you staying parallel with your partner on? So were you staying parallel with your partner on? Answer, yeah. At that time, yeah. I was pretty much, my partner was outside the car. I was in the car driving along. The offender or the guy was maybe 10, 15, 20 feet ahead of us. Question, okay. Were you doing anything with your equipment on your car at that time? Answer, I don't believe I did, no. Question, when your partner got out of the car, was his weapon drawn? Answer, not exactly when, I don't think. I don't remember if he did when he first got out, but then as he, had his flashlight out, looked at the guy, and then he seen something in his hand. So I believe that's when he pulled his weapon out. Question, all right. About how long after he got out of the car did he pull his weapon, your partner? Maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, somewhere in there, pretty quick. Question, did you see him do that? Did you see him do that, and did he tell you that he was doing that or explain how you knew that? Answer, well, no. He had his light. Once he said he had a knife, I could still see my partner through the passenger window, and I seen he had his gun out too. Question, and your partner said he had a knife? Answer, yeah. He said, he's got a knife. Answer, and he just told you that? He didn't need to radio? No. He had his flashlight in one hand and his gun in the other, so he couldn't use the radio at all. Question, once he said that the person had a knife, what did you do? Answer, well, I kind of sat up in the car a little bit more so I could see out the window better. And we kept, again, we're still walking the whole time. And then the street lights got a little bit better. And that's when I seen a shiny object, which looked like a knife that was in his hand. Question, and you were continuing moving east? Answer, yes, we were always continuing to move, yes. Question, what happened then? Answer, well, once I finally seen that, that's when I got on the radio and asked, said this guy's got a knife. We're approaching Keeler, and if anybody has got a taser, to come to assist us. Question, why did you do that? Answer, just because in that situation, if we could hopefully have a taser or just any kind of assistance, we didn't want to. He never came at us at any time. He continued to walk, but he never stopped or anything like that. So we just wanted more help to hopefully subdue him at the time. Question, and it was important though that you requested a taser though, correct? Answer, well, I figured at that point he was just walking with the knife. Hopefully we could subdue him with a taser that came down to him. Question, up until that point, did you ever hear the person with the knife say anything? Answer, no. After you put out the request for a taser, what happened? Answer, we continued to walk eastbound on 40th Street. My partner continued to give him commands, but the guy, he just kept walking. He had a weird look in his eyes, just glazed look. He never said anything, just kept, like looking at us, turning around, but just kept walking. Question, how far were you from the kid with the knife? Answer, about 10 to 15 feet. Like I said, I was still on the street in the car, and he was, walking ahead of us. How about your partner? Answer, he was about the same, in the same area where the car was. We were kind of just walking with it. Question, what happened then? Answer, well, we continued to walk. As we got to Karloff, I knew the next half block up there's a truck yard, and there's an area where the trucks parked so they could sleep. And then there's a Burger King, and then there's Pulaski. So at that time, I wanted to try to either slow him down or get him to go down Karloff, which is another industrial, just buildings, no people. So I pulled a little bit in front of the guy to try and maybe like stop him or get him to go down that street. Question, now when you pulled in front of him, would you have turned right onto Karloff? Answer, yes, just a little bit. Not all the way onto the street, but I turned, a little bit onto Karloff. Question, and what happened when you did that? Answer, when I did that, he kind of looked at him and just brought his arm down and hit my tire with the knife. Which hand did he have the knife in? Answer, it was his right hand, and he just came down with it. Question, was he to the right at that point? Answer, yeah, he was on the passenger side front. He kind of was a little sideways because he came down with it towards the side. He wasn't stabbing me. He just came down at the side. And what happened when he did that? Answer, I heard the hissing sound of the tire. So I got on the radio to say, he just popped my tire. Question, and then what did you do? Answer, at that point, I kind of pushed the car up a little further to get in front of him, to really get in front of him. And then he turned with, just came down with the knife and hit the upper part of the windshield on the passenger side. Question, still with the knife in his right hand? Answer, yes. After he did that, what did he do? Answer, well, he backed up and walked around the car, went to and kept going east on 40th Street. When he got to roughly the next sidewalk, we're in the street at that time, the next sidewalk, that's when another car came off of Pulaski, westbound on 40th, with their lights and sirens on. Question, and after he popped the tire and then came down and hit the passenger side of your windshield with the knife, did he walk behind your car or did he run? Answer, no, it was in front. No, he just continued to walk. He walked around the car. And like I said, once he got around the car, almost to the sidewalk, that's when another car came off of Pulaski. And that's when you could see the lights and sirens. And then that's when, once he seen that, that's when he started to run. Question, so he walked in front of it? Answer, yeah. He just walked around the car in front of it. Then just went to the sidewalk, and that's when the other car came off of Pulaski and he ran. He started to run at that time. Question, what did your partner do? Answer, at that time, my partner gave chase. I believe I backed up and then went, because I had to, or I just turned out of car line.